Our conversation with our county commissioners brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. We've got all three of our commissioners on the line with us, Commissioner Chairman Mike Keith and Commissioner Shireen Hess and Robin Gorman. Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you. Good to have you all on the air with us here today. Let's get an update. What's going on with the county? Commissioner Keith, let's start with you.
Well, right now we're introducing a newly developed task force amongst the county, which I'll let the other commissioners go ahead and share with some of the specifics. But we got a lot of things going. We've, besides the task force, as you know, we're into with RGGI and DEP and the governor. We got some refinancing of the county's budget, and along with that, votes. But the biggest thing right now is the newly developed task force.
All right, very good. Which of the two ladies would like to take the lead on this?
I'll let Commissioner Hess go first. Go ahead, Shireen.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, all that to say, we were very pleased to be able to put together what we think is a fairly comprehensive first level of a task force to talk about how Indiana County is going to reopen. We've started that process by being moved into the yellow phase, and that is very good news, and how we're going to move forward and keep moving forward to the green phase, because we certainly don't want to have to step backwards to red. So we have a number of folks who we think are a very good cross-section of where the needs are going to be, including our business assistance and recovery in that regard, for our small businesses especially, but also our human service agencies and organizations who are working hard to keep people fed and housed and all of that. And also just getting people, getting our community, the social and the economic fabric back to, where we were, and possibly and hopefully even moving forward. So, Robin, Commissioner Gorman has done a great job at putting together an agenda and a framework, and so I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Shireen. And my colleagues are very kind. They have been instrumental in developing this recovery task force for Indiana County in the COVID-19 phases. Our specific purpose, Todd and residents of Indiana County, is to make sure that our eye is on the goal for everyone, which is reopen our county up safely and successfully together. And quickly. So we are in yellow phase. However, with the yellow phase recovery task force in assisting every walk of life in our community, making sure they have quick answers, making sure if anything erupts that we can work quickly among the steering and the task force to get people what they need or how they need it and when they need it quickly to solve problems and issues or sharing, and always keeping our eye on green. Our particular goal, Todd, would be to make sure that our businesses, our citizens, whoever possibly may, the worst case scenario would be, we think we have an outbreak. So what do we do? Where do we go? How do we handle it? Mm-hmm. The least case would be, I'm a business and I'm small and I don't really know where to get masks or how to, do something, with regard to keeping my workplace safe, and whether that's plexiglass or, costly kinds of things for a small business. Maybe they can work with a network of larger businesses that already have a supply chain and share and coordinate among each other. And we would, of course, hope that our chamber and our tourist bureau and our ICDC folks would coordinate those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of implementation, the average business person or the average citizen is going to be able to contact you in some way and therefore get whatever their concerns are addressed?
That is correct, and that's why we chose folks very carefully. So obviously this being, the framework is, this is a healthcare emergency, and if you sort of break that out into two levels, it is a physical life and death with the coronavirus healthcare emergency, and it is also a mental and emotional health with regard to health care and health and well-being of people. So folks on the task force will be the authority and the decision makers of their entities, and therefore we can push out. We want to make sure that our community knows this is inclusive, not exclusive. We had to start somewhere, and we will either tier out to other groups, like I mentioned, that can be the access and the outreach out to our outward counties, our inner county, wherever that is, businesses, citizens, and what their needs are. We're going to make sure we have try to have every aspect covered. But we may learn some things along the way and then have to put that into implementation, and that's a good thing, too.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to roll this out to the public when? Is there a timeline?
Actually, our first meeting is tomorrow. It's our inaugural meeting of the task force.
Okay, very good. All right, so that's one issue. Commissioner Keith mentioned something a couple of moments ago as well. In fact, a couple of pretty interesting facts. So one had to do with refinancing. Commissioner Keith, would you like to take the ball on that one?
Sure. As you know, the Feds have lowered the interest rate across the nation. So approximately 4 or 5 weeks ago, we entered into looking at refinancing the county's debt and restructuring our finances. And we are right now on the upward swing of it, and actually the county is going to look pretty well out of the end result once we actually get all the numbers and everything into line.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, again, we think of timelines, but obviously things like this do take a little bit of time and some thought as well. So we'll look forward to hearing something new on that. What are some of the other topics that our listeners need to know about today?
Well, we definitely want to keep in mind the fight on RGGI
Yes.
with the DEP and the governor. That is a very, very direct impact to Indiana County with our electric generation plants. It directly affects over 1,800 jobs, and we definitely are continuing to fight on it so we can keep the jobs going in Indiana County.
You all took part in that event last week, and to me it sounded like something that was rather hopeful in that DEP seems to have at least some people who are willing to listen to Indiana County's concerns and the concerns of counties such as Indiana across the Commonwealth. Give me an impression of what you were hearing at that conference and about what maybe the next steps would be, and any of you can address that.
Well, this is Commissioner Gorman. The data shows itself, and particularly for Indiana County, Armstrong County, or Cambry County, but there will be downflow effects of this across our Commonwealth and, of course, particularly the northeastern part of our country and across. I think you hit the nail on the head, Todd, and I think that's all we are saying is everybody that was on that call, so whether it was your boiler makers or your manufacturing industries and folks who these regulations are going to impact directly, we just want to have access to our governor, his cabinet members that are serving on this DEP, and that they are willing to listen, because these folks were pleading that they don't disagree. There is a way to do this, but we need to work together and do this together so that our folks aren't just displaced from their jobs and their livelihoods, something like a COVID, but that there's time to recover and there's time to think about the solutions that won't impact people so directly and so quickly and so badly, and still get the end result that the governor's looking for. But through this and even through COVID, it's been extremely frustrating and disappointed to not feel as though we're being engaged and that we're being reached out to and working with our leaders.
One of the interesting things to me has been, as you mentioned, with the COVID pandemic and with the RGGI, each of them have been done through governor's executive orders, and it doesn't matter if it's a Republican or a Democrat in office. If one branch of the government is seeking to cut out the others, then that can't be a very good formula for our state government. Commissioner Hess, maybe you'd like to join in this conversation as well.
Well, on that note, it does speak to how it's kind of out of sync or a little bit, the functionality of government is maybe a little bit at question there when you have executive orders that are pushing things through. It can be, you're going to have a part of the citizenry who feels like they are not being listened to. And that is problematic. And that seems to be happening in a number of areas. So, we are always pushing for let's find a better way. Let's find the win-win, and we need the state to listen to the people who are going to be affected the most from these kinds of decisions. Now, I will say there's a Citizens Advisory Council meeting today that anybody is invited to listen in on, and they can learn more about this regional greenhouse gas initiative that the governor is pushing for. And I have to say, it's it's a great deal of the state that is pushing for it. It's not that there's not support for it. It's just that there seems to be not a good plan or a set of things that are going to help places like Indiana County and Greene County and and Cambria County and the folks that are going to be directly affected by these actions.
Now, you said that people can listen to it today. How do they do that? Yeah,
there's some information at dep.pa.gov under Citizens Advisory Council. Okay. And it's it'll be a WebEx meeting, and there's instructions on there on how to access that. But it's one of those meetings that lasts about 4 hours, but it's through WebEx and through online. You can join in at any time, and it'll be fairly technical, but it's also, it's open to the citizens to listen in, and this is part of the process to as they roll out the regulations related to it.
It's where the info is. Okay, so we're wrapping up our time with our county commissioners. Anything else our listeners need to know about anything?
Well, coming from the standpoint is from the commissioners itself, as far as this COVID, I want to stress to the citizens that we are fighting very hard to get to the green stage, and with Representative Struzzi and Senator Pittman, we're all working together, driving our need to the to the governor about going to the green phase. And the sooner we get there, we understand, the better off we will all be.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody else?
Just to say that the county is still continuing with lots of investments that have been started in the former Board of Commissioners, broadband and cellular deployment efforts. Our conservation district building is being built. The Westmoreland Community College and the Challenger Center are all being worked on. Alice Paul House is being built. Stormwater management, many projects still ongoing. So we're still in business and moving Indiana County forward.
It's good to know.
Don't forget the census.
The census, yeah. In fact, I just got something from Josh over at Planning and Development a couple of seconds ago. We'll be passing along to our listeners. And of course, we've got
a great big shout out, Todd, and thank you to our citizens again. They have just done us proud. They're doing what they need to be doing. They continue to do so, and we're just grateful for all of the cooperation through all of this.
Oh, really quickly before we're done, because we do have to get on to Fox News at the top of the hour. Anything on elections that folks need to know? Because the primary day is June 2nd.
You can still apply for a mail-in ballot. We suggest you do it ASAP because it needs to go through the mail unless you want to drop it off at the courthouse once it's completed. Yeah. So you have till May 26th to last day to apply, and June 2nd is 8 p.m. is the last day you can return your voted mail-in ballot.
Yeah, it has to be.
And everything is business as usual as far as every poll, I think, but 2 are open and normal, and all of the precautions will be taken for our citizens and the workers.
Very good. Yes. Thank you all for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, bye now. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160 and 101.1 FM.